What up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and I am back with a quick video. So if you guys remember, a couple months ago, it was about a month ago actually, I did a video in which I pointed out that, you know, this is the 50th, this year marks the 50th anniversary of GI Joe as a franchise in general. Not just a real American hero, GI Joe altogether. Anyway, long story short, the little bit of weapon sets and such that I showed you, that's all that we're getting. There hasn't been any, improvement, any additions, nothing. What I showed you is it. Is that cool? Like, I'm noticing that, you know, I rank a lot, and I like to curb my, used to actually say something, but it got to the point where everything I said fell on deaf ears, so I got tired of saying stuff. You know, I realized that I am outnumbered by sheep, so I don't say anything anymore. But essentially, you're getting 5 figure sets, these versus sets, 2 3-packs, and then 2 vehicle sets. And this is excluding Creo, because that's some bullshit. No disrespect to you Creo fans out there, but I mean, G.I. Joe is fucking G.I. Joe. I'm not interested in no goddamn fake-ass Legos with G.I. Joe faces on them. That's not what G.I. Joe is. And you guys know it too, so sorry. So we're getting, what is that, 4, 8, 9 sets in total for the 50th anniversary, all coming in fall. Nothing started the beginning of the year. This is all we're getting. This is how we're being treated. This is how Hasbro feels about its fan base that brought them to 50 years of G.I. Joe. How does that make sense? How is that smart? How is that good marketing? How is that efficient use of a built-in fan base? You know what I'm saying? And also, how can you fans, and I'm not saying all of you, but a lot of you, how can you just be cool with just that? You know, Retaliation wasn't a moderate success. It was a success because they made back their money, but they didn't make much over what it cost to make the movie and to, you know, deal with pushing it back 9 months or however many months it was, and, you know, to pay for, you know, their marketing. They just about broke even. And we're getting a sequel because, you know, they made their money back, and they consider, I guess, unlike the game industry, it seems like Hasbro, they feel like because they made some money, they made back a little bit more than what they spent, that it was a success, and we should greenlight a new one because we can only do better. And it's a good way to look at things. But the fiasco with the delay on Retaliation, I think, killed G.I. Joe. No major retailers want to carry G.I. Joe figures except for Toys R Us. Everyone that had them, they don't carry them anymore. You know what I'm saying? We're only now getting to see the final 2 waves of the Retaliation line, which is full of figures that had nothing to do with the film. Now, the funny thing is, during my collection and coverage of Pursuit of Cobra and the 30th anniversary of Real American Hero, I pointed out a lot of these things, and I was frustrated because of their horrible distribution and just their lack of attention to how things should work. You know, it felt like we were working really hard to find figures, but they were working really hard to take the fun out of hunting for figures. I mean, there were so many places that should have had them that didn't have them. They were waiting for shipments to come. Shipment never showed up. When they did show up, scalpers were there first. There wasn't enough to meet the demand, etc., etc., etc. This from a company that is one of the top toy manufacturers in the world. We still have this issue. Doesn't it ever occur to you guys that, you know, there are people who have these dream jobs that you and I would, like, love to have, that are just squandering that opportunity? They're not taking care of what they need to take care of. They're not handling the business end properly, they're actually making things difficult. So like when your DC UCs get canceled, when your Marvel Legends get canceled like they did in the past, when your Ninja Turtles get canceled like they did in the past, sometimes it's because of mismanagement, you know? I read an article that said, and I'm going to mention this again in the next video that I'm going to do, because I've been thinking about these things and I haven't articulated my thoughts with them. You know, I haven't put them out here, but I want to because it needs to be said. Around the web, there's this air of ignorance when it comes to GI Joe. You know, collectors are just like, you know, yay, there's 9 sets that I get to go throw my money at Hasbro for. But this is the 50th anniversary of GI Joe. When the 30th anniversary of GI Joe, we had like, what, over 20 figures to pick from that year? It's the 50th anniversary of GI Joe, and there are, what, 7 figure sets? 6 if you count with the 3 packs, and about what, 6 more with the 2 packs. Like, come on, or 8 more with the 2 packs. Like, that's not really good enough when you think about it. I mean, there was over 20 figures the year of the 30th anniversary, because there were like 3 waves of 30th anniversary stuff. There were a lot of figures, and there were revisions, and there were all kinds of stuff. It was a lot to choose from. I mean, I have them, so like I remember going out and collecting that stuff. This year, 50th anniversary, we're not getting any new 12-inch figures. We're not getting any like characters to span all the time periods. Instead, we're getting shit that was from the concept case from 2 years back, before Retaliation was, you know, shown, before the figures were shown, the same year the figures were shown, and then pulled from the shelves, and then put back out a couple months later, or several months later. Like, we're getting old shit, and we're, you know, everyone's like, yay! You know, I said it before in the video where I revealed these things. I was like, you know, it's cool, but it just doesn't seem like it's a lot. I mean, I'm glad I'm getting a chance to get the Lady J and the Flint, and possibly even that Beachhead, but I'm kind of not impressed that that's it. A company this big should be, you know, pulling out all the stops. And this is not to mention that Hasbro hasn't been in attendance of the JoeCons for the last couple years. So, like, this is a sign to me that, you know, our beloved G.I. Joe is about to be dead. You know what I mean? They're about to do away with G.I. Joe because My Little Pony and, you know, Transformers and all that other shit makes more money, you know. But it's not for lack of trying. It's for lack of attention to the people that make this line what it is, you know, and that's us. A lot of fans need to understand that, you know, your purchases speak in volumes for a company, and just buying anything, everything that's put out, it doesn't necessarily help, because then you don't show the company where they need to improve, or, you know, where they weren't necessarily thinking along the lines of their various demographics. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're just saying, as long as it says G.I. Joe, I will buy it. And I know that's a lot of, you know, the sheep's creed, unfortunately. And, you know, when I say sheep, I'm not referring to everybody. I'm referring to those who have no type of discrimination against anything that Hasbro releases with the G.I. Joe logo on it. Because there has been a lot of shit in the last 5 years that Hasbro has released that just wasn't cool. And this goes for, you know, movie tie-in figures and regular, you know, G.I. Joe, you know, lore, and regular, you know, a Real American Hero, 30th anniversary, whatever, comics, whatever. It has to do with all the figures they've released, all the vehicles they've released. There's collector's club vehicles that it's like, what? They took a Snowcat, painted it green and black and whatever, the colors of a Havoc, and then they release it as a Havoc, and it's like, yeah, that's not a Havoc, that's a Snowcat. It's a separate fucking vehicle. You know what I mean? There were distinct differences between the two, and now that's what they're shoveling at people, and people are gonna say, I'm gonna buy it. Yay. You guys have to really like, I don't know. I don't know. We've seen this already with DCUC. No matter how much money we put into it, no matter how much we supported, they pulled it out from under us because they kept saying it wasn't enough. Now you have GI Joe facing the same thing, and it's because you guys never ever at any point, said this is not worthy of, you know, my money. This is not what GI Joe is. You just bought it all, you know? And I think it doesn't make sense that you guys have that kind of blind support. You know what I'm saying? I got up on my soapbox many a time to point out that some of this shit was not up to snuff. And people argued with me, they fought with me, whatever. And I said if they continue this kind of shit, the numbers will drop and GI Joe is going to fall the way of DCUC and, you know, Marvel Legends the first time. And look where we are. I mean, they haven't said it yet, but that's where we're going. Back to the article. The article kind of, it's a fan slash, you know, toy news journalist, if you will. I don't know what you call those folks, but he wrote an article. It's a really good article. It's entitled GI Joe is dead. Long live GI Joe. And he goes on to express how strange it is that, you know, with this being the 50th anniversary, why is there no, you know, there's no presence from Hasbro at the various toy fairs and such. You know, not one convention. Hasbro showed shit. And when they did go up and they showed new stuff, it was the stuff we'd seen before. But anyway, this article is written by John Krause from Terradrome. So many of you might know him if you do happen to frequent the Terradrome. He explains everything about GI Joe from the beginnings in '64 and to where it is now. And he points out the ups and the downs and points out the weird direction in which they've been going. And, you know, is GI Joe dead or is it about to go through a resurgence? You know, what's the deal? And, you know, in the bottom, as always, you have fans that are trying to argue and trying to sound more knowledgeable than each other without thinking about the obvious facts, you know? When was the last time that you saw a company that built itself on, or I won't say it built itself, but made a name for itself with a product, not showcase that product on a big milestone anniversary? I don't think I've ever seen that happen. Ever. Ever. Think about it. 75 years of Batman and Superman, and you're seeing all kinds of shit for them. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about toys. I'm talking about there were books. There's all kinds of merchandise for those characters because the milestones are when you can sell the most shit. So what's the deal with GI Joe? We're seeing nothing. Since Retaliation, GI Joe has kind of fallen the fuck off. So for all you who think that Retaliation was this great thing, unfortunately it wasn't. And that's the sad part. So, I don't know. You guys should check out the article. I'm going to have a link to it. But, man, it's depressing when you think about it. Because, you know, I'm big on G.I. Joe. I love G.I. Joe. I think it's an awesome franchise. I think there's so much that can be done with it that is not being done with it. And in my next video, I'm going to tell you what I would do if I was in charge of it. If it was up to me to save G.I. Joe, I will show you and I will tell you what I would do to change G.I. Joe and save it. Because to me, there's still life in the line. There's still things they could possibly do. There's a lot that, I don't know, that could make you know, G.I. Joe what's the word, viable again. Right now, it's just kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's just not good. Right now, it's kind of, shit. It's like it's hanging on by a thread, I guess. It's the best way I can put it. They're not giving it their all the way that they once did. And that sucks, you know? That really sucks. Especially if you're a big fan and you've been playing with Joes and collecting Joes for as long as I have. I mean, I'm over half. I've been alive for over half the amount of time G.I. Joe has been around. And That sounds so bad because it makes me sound like I'm super old. I'm 35. You know what I'm saying? And for a good 20-something, good half of the time G.I. Joe's been around, I was collecting. You know what I mean? And granted, there were stops, but I always had Joes. When I stopped collecting the 3 3/4 inch ones, I was collecting the 12-inch ones. When I stopped collecting 12 inches, I went back to the 3 3/4 inch ones. And now I've got this pretty big ass collection. And, you know, granted, I would go too much more overboard with my collection. There's still specific things I wanted to see, and I would definitely put my money into those things. It just sucks that, like, you know, I'm raising sons, and, you know, as my youngest gets older, I wanted to introduce him to that stuff. Unfortunately, I'm probably just going to hand down stuff I have to him, you know. There won't be a new, possibly, you know what I'm saying? We don't know, because right now, anything is possible. It just looks like, you know, from all the facts, it looks like there's not going to be much more G.I. Joe. But anyway, like I said, my next video, it's going to be about what I would do if I was in charge of the G.I. Joe brand. And I've already told some of you guys what I would do. I've mentioned it in various videos. I've mentioned it on various forums. I mentioned this shit on His Tank in detail. People agreed with me. It sucks I didn't bookmark that actual post, but, you know, I did comment, and I did have an idea. I even put it on the G.I. Joe community on Facebook, and I had an idea for it and everything, and people agreed with me. People said it made sense, and all those Hasbro execs that are lurking, or Hasbro marketing folks that are lurking on those various websites, no one took heed of the shit I was saying. So I'm gonna repeat it for all of them and for all of you, so you can hear where I'm coming from, so you understand. Once again, not only do I offer the criticism on this wonderful thing we have called YouTube, I also offer the solutions, because I consider myself a surgeon when it comes to what I do. I've been surgical with mine, with my art, with my reviews, as well as my criticism. It's not just okay to bitch about something and have no type of insight as to how you can fix it. I'm going to show you how I can fix it. So you guys should stay tuned for that. You know, if you're interested, I think I have valid ways that this would work. You know what I'm saying? So who knows? Maybe I will be put in a position where I can actually make this happen. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you've got companies like Marauders Gun Runners, who is easily pulling the G.I. Joe kind of 3 3/4 inch soldier. They're cornering that market right out from under Hasbro, and they're a tiny little company. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of strange, because you'd think that a conglomerate like Hasbro would be able to just knock them out of the fucking water. Instead, every time Marauders comes up with a new thing, it just blows away all the shit we've been getting from Hasbro for the last, I don't know, especially new stuff. You'd think as the years go on, the tech and the concepts and, you know, just the end result should just be amazing, because they've had so much time, so many resources, so much money, you know, so many designers, and time after time Marauders fucking slaughters Hasbro when it comes to the quality of what they're giving you, the intricacy and detail of what they give you, and just the engineering in general. Now they're about to have figures. It's a wrap, right? Anyway, stay tuned for my next video where I tell you how I would save Hasbro. Well, not Hasbro, but save G.I. Joe. Peace outside.